Awesome.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Firstly, thank you very much, Frederick, for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
So I've gone through your profile and I came to know you are from Canada and you work as a director of developer relationship.
Yep. Yeah, I work. So I live in Montreal in Canada. So where it's super cold right now. We have like winter snow. And yeah, I'm a director of developer relation at Mindee. I joined a little more than 6 months ago, but really enjoying the role, the company, and the people there.
So before talking about you, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah. So yeah, but sorry, you asked about Mindy, like where I work, or
Yeah,
okay.
you're originally from Canada or
Yes, yes, yes. I'm really originally from Canada. Always live in Montreal. French is my first language, and English is the second one. I'm part of the east of Canada, Quebec, where people usually speak French.
so you are into technology from last so long time.
Yeah, yeah, I'm old now. I'm starting to be old. I've been in tech for about 20 years. I started my career. The first 10 years, I was a software developer. Did a little bit of architecture, working a little bit with customers. But I would say not managing projects a little bit, or like being like kind of like tech lead on some technology. But I would say 90%, 95% of my time were as a software developer. So I was coding, creating application, and at some point in my career, I realized that I was part of the, I don't know, 5% of developer or social extrovert and know how to talk to real human. So I move in the developer relations side of things, which is still a technical role, but it's also a lot of like a social role and really about creating relationship with people. So for the last 10 years, I've been having a role like technical evangelist, developer advocate, uh, now director of developer relation, which is basically part of what I was doing before, plus managing people and also thinking about like, the big pictures and how we do developer relationship at Mindee.
So you started in 1, 2, 3 certifications.
Yeah, yeah, that was my first job as a developer. Funny enough, when I was looking for an internship after I've done a course of, it was about 1 year. It was in Quebec, it's the equivalent of a college degree, but I only had courses about technology, like software programming technology, and it was about a year. But to be able to get my certificate, I needed to do an internship, and they were one of the places where they were looking for a Java developer. And 20 years ago, Java was like the technology that I really loved, and I was loving oriented object programming. And I was like, I really want to do that, but I was pretty sure that the company was offering kind of like software developer certification, but actually it was a company that was building a product for the welding industry. So I worked there for 5 years. That was pretty cool. I did some Java. I learned new technology. It was really great people I worked with. But what was nice is that by being a software developer, I also learned about a different industry that I know nothing about. So I created an online application to help people design the specification. When you weld something, maybe not a table, maybe they don't go that crazy for small items, but like if you weld another pass somewhere, you need to be sure that it's solid, and you need to define which type of metal you're going to use, how many time you're going to weld the different pieces so they stick together, so they can take the pressure. So I created an application so it's easier for welder engineers or engineers working in the welding industry to add a notation and create that specification. But I also work on a welder simulator, which was pretty cool. You were like having a real welding gun, but with like Google, kind of like the equivalent of like the Google like classes right now, and we're welding. And yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a great first experience as a developer.
Uh, you like you said you worked as project lead and software developer and Java lead software developer.
Yeah, so what was great is that within that 5 years, uh, because it was a small company and we had really ambitious goal, it was a great way for me to kind of like grow within my role. So, I went from, as I would assume every younger people that start in tech, you start in tech and you know everything because like, hey, like I'm good, I know everything, which is always not the true. Like you don't know everything. So I had the opportunity to learn, but I had the opportunity to lead the projects that I was talking about. So, the welding simulator. At some point, I was leading the project, but also since we were doing a lot of Java, we needed kind of like a tech lead when it comes to Java. So what was funny also is that funny and good and not so good at the same time is that we didn't have a lot of like senior people. Like the people that were more senior than me, they had like 1 year and a half more experience, maybe 2 years of experience than me, and we went to the same school. So I had to learn. I made a lot of mistakes, and I became the Java expert because I was the person doing Java. So that was also a great way for me to kind of like mentor the people. But yeah, I realized that my second job, when I moved to a place where my manager had way more experience than me, that I was doing a couple of things wrong when I started. So I'm not super proud of the code that I created at that time. Meaning like I'm proud of what I've done, but I'm a little bit ashamed of like how I coded. But it's okay. Like I didn't have much experience. This is how you learn. Yeah.
Great, man. And do you have any particular incident or experience while working in that company? You worked for 5 years.
I worked there for 5 years. I learned some of the things that the developers shouldn't do either by myself or by seeing the experience from my colleague. We were doing a lot of things in production directly, which was a mistake, which like a lot of people don't do anymore because now we have like more streamlined processes with like the coming of DevOps and things like that. But I remember one time my boss at the time has a really important meeting with potential investor and potential customers, and I decided to just update the SDK version of the application. And so it was working on my computer, but when my bus went to the customer, it was not working at all, and it was not super happy. And I learned like maybe that was stupid from me, but at the time I was like, it's just an update. It's working on my computer. I was junior, I was starting, and I learned that yeah, no, like when you have something that work. And especially before presentations, especially before something important, like don't update things, even if like it should be fine or it's working on my computer. You never know what's gonna happen. It's also why there's that saying in tech where like do not deploy on Friday, even if it's a small thing, because you're probably gonna have issues and you're gonna have to work during the weekend. Um, that friend's gonna kill me if I tell that story. But I remember my friend, he decided to clean up some folder on the production server, and it was a Linux machine, and he did rm dash was it rm dash rf, kind of like recursively enforce. But when he went to copy the path of the folder he wanted to remove and the folder in the subfolder, he just copied a slash. So basically, that command was deleting everything on the server, and in the space of like 5 seconds, when he did like Control C to kind of like break the comment, he wiped out like half of the server. And this is where we realized that backup strategy were not that good, and that we should like do things on the dev server before doing things in production. But we're all junior people, we're all learning, but those are kind of like hard lessons to learn, and you don't do those mistakes after again.
And you worked as a senior software developer in IBI Solutions full time for 2 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, that company after 2 years did not work super well. But I really had a great experience because first my manager, my boss, the person who hired me, it was the teacher I had when I was taking programming course, and he decided to start his company. He was doing things on his own, and after that, like it was becoming too big for himself only. So he decided to hire me, and we hired other people, and I thought it was going well. What was nice is that we were doing kind of like line of business application for the construction industry. So, I created like web application, I created mobile application. In that time, that was BlackBerry, and that was Windows Mobile, which was kind of like the precursor of Windows OS, but it's not even comparable. So I worked on those projects. That was pretty cool. I had a great time also because I was kind of like leading those projects too. But at the same time, if you remember, I said that on my first job, we didn't really had senior people. So when I joined that company, I was doing things and my boss was like, "Hey, Fred, like maybe you shouldn't like code like that. Maybe you should think about that best practices." So that was only 2 years, 2 years and a half, but that was really, really good for me because it was a good mentor. I learned a lot and I really became a better developer within those 2 years.
So as a developer, do you remember something that went wrong and you fixed it?
Oh God, like so many things went wrong. Sorry. God, what example should I talk about? Uh, I my it's coming back to the mistake of like not really having backup, but I was developing that BlackBerry application, and for whatever reason, I had like hard disk issues, and I was not able to access like the code that I created, and because we didn't have backup in place. I should have learned from my first job, but because we didn't have backup in place, I lost about a month of work. So first, that was really not good. Like losing a month, it's not good for the business. It's not good for the morale. And even if it was not my fault, it was still my fault because I was not backupping my things. We didn't have any like backup process. And actually, we were not even at that time. I think we were not even using some kind of like file versioning. So it's why after we decided to start to use, I think it was CSV at that time, like really pre Git or even pre SVN. And no, I think maybe it was event. It doesn't matter. But we started to use that, so I was committing more frequently. But also, it's really like on the creative side, it's really not fun for a developer to have to create again what he already created, especially in that situation. So it may be fun if you need to refactor because like you learn more because you became better because like you have some legacy code, so it's a way for you to improve what you've done, but it's based on the code you already have. For me, I had to recreate everything because I lost the code. The other thing is that yeah, that thing was good too. Like I don't think I was super good at testing, and we didn't really at that time like TDD development and like testing was more like human testing. We had some QA, but we didn't have like a lot of like automated ways of testing. It came a little bit later in the tech industry. Actually, maybe it was there. We were not following the best practices, but it was always the case where I had a software that was synchronizing things between two systems for customers, but it was doing this at like 3 a.m. because they were starting their day at like 4 a.m. to prepare things for the worker that were starting at 8 a.m. And so many time I did just a small change and I did like minimum testing and I was like, that's working well. And they were calling me at 3 a.m. and were like, Fred, there is an issue because I didn't test well. They were not able to do their job. So that was not a good time in my life because I like nobody likes to be waking up at that time, especially when there is a mistake. So you're kind of like not awake and you need to check the code and understand what's happening while they're waiting for you. So it's something I learned to do better testing, to deploy less. And in that time, it was like deploying less frequently, like starting to really think a little more about the architecture instead of like just going and coding right away, really thinking through like what's going to be the architecture, how I'm going to code this. And after you know about what you're going to do, you code and you test really like kind of like bulletproof tests to be sure that's going to work. And after that, like you deploy to production. But what's funny now, I'm talking about those things. I'm realizing that those can still be issues in 2022. But I would say like tech wise, we advanced so much on so many levels that those things still happen, but way less frequently because now testing is part of not everybody, but I would say mostly everybody. When you code, now you have some you do unit tests, you do like different type of testing, so it's kind of like part of your application lifecycle process. But also you have automation right now that makes your life easier. So those mistakes can be avoided more easily. But yeah, like I'm not ashamed of like all the mistakes I've done because this is how you learn. And I was junior, I was starting, but it's a great learning process. You need to make mistakes to learn things. Yeah.
And you worked as a freelancer in
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah. So when the company unfortunately didn't work, the company I was working with, I was like, okay, like maybe it's time for me to try to be a freelancer because um, I have ADHD, so sometimes it's hard for me to concentrate from 8 to 5 and be really productive. So I was like, if I'm my own boss, like maybe that's going to be easier. So what I was doing at that time, I was like, hey, you have web application or mobile application, I can help you doing that. And I started to have like 1, 2, 3 customers, and I think things were going great. Uh, but Microsoft reached out to me for a possible role as a developer advocate. In that time, that was a technical evangelist was the title. And I was like, oh, that's kind of my dream job. But I'm not sure if I want to work at Microsoft because now Microsoft is playing better with other people. But like 10 years ago, Microsoft was not super friendly and people didn't really like Microsoft and the developer ecosystem. It was a mix, like people that really love Microsoft and people that really hate Microsoft. But they sold the job really well to me. And that was a really great opportunity to kind of like move in a new type of job. And I talked at some friend and mentor at the time, and they were like, Fred, like even if your freelance business is going well, working for a big company like that will give you a chance to learn a new role that you had no experience on the professional side. It's not a once in a lifetime, but it may be once in a lifetime. So you can try it, you can see where it goes, and if it doesn't work, you don't like it, or you want to go back as a freelancer, you're still young, you still can go back and build your business again, or just like go from where you left off and just continue what you started and just trying to get new customers. So I was like, okay, like it's going well as a freelancer, but now I have an opportunity that I may not want to miss. So I jump in the wagon and basically, yeah. I didn't stay for too long as a freelancer. I think it was like 6 months to 1 year, and that new opportunity happened. So I kind of like jump 2 feet in. Uh,
And then you become a technical evangelist at Microsoft Canada, and you worked there for 2 years, 7 months. So what you did?
Yeah, so that was my initiation to developer relations. So in that time, the title was mostly technical evangelist or developer evangelist, which is depending on the company, is basically the same as developer advocate. So what was great is that Microsoft gave me a chance because I was already starting to organize user group. I was starting to speak at conferences and write blog posts. So I was already doing a little bit of part of what a developer advocate does, but I had no professional experience, and they were looking for someone bilingual, and I was only speaking French, but they gave me the chance, so that was pretty good. And the second thing is that I was not a Microsoft person. I did a little bit of C# in the previous company before I went freelance, but I was not a Microsoft person, and for me, Microsoft people were like brown shirt and tie and corporate people, and they were like not friendly with open source. So as I said, I was like, do I really want to work there? I'm not going to change. Like I'm the guy with black t-shirt and jeans and like Converse, yellow Converse. Like this is kind of like my branding, and like I don't want to be a Microsoft person. But actually they were looking for someone like me. They were looking for someone who is not a Microsoft person. They were looking for someone who was already involved with the open source community, or at least had the passion of open source. So that really gave me the opportunity to kind of like try to change the mind and the heart of people internally at Microsoft at the small scale, because Microsoft is so huge. But I really think that I had an impact at Microsoft Canada. So I did not answer your questions. To answer your question, part of my job is to speak. As you probably saw right now, I like to talk. I like to share things with people, and this is a little bit of job of technical evangelist, or a developer advocate, or people working in developer relation. The job is to help developer being successful. And how do you help developer being successful? You do this with code, with the community, and with content. So there's a part where you educate people. So part of my job was to write blog posts, either technical or more high level, like blog posts that were interest for a developer. It was about writing tutorials. In some company, you help or you own the documentation. At Microsoft, they had an entire team working the documentation. So it was not part of my role. But educating also was like doing webinar online, was speaking at conferences, speaking at meetup user groups, doing panel. So there's a lot of like informing, educating developer. But what is great is that it's not always about the technology, the Microsoft technology, especially in my case, since my focus was open source, interoperability, open data. So I was talking with a lot of things that would work on Microsoft technology, like at that time, it was called Windows Azure, Microsoft Azure, the cloud service of Microsoft. So I was talking about using WordPress on Azure. And when we launched Windows 8, I was talking about building Windows application with HTML5, because that was the cool thing. That was the cool new version at that time. That was like where we had like plenty of interesting features. So part of the job is really educating people. But the second part is also to advocate for developers. So that means connecting with developer first. So you create relationship with developer on social media. So I'm usually pretty active on Twitter. Twitter is still my platform after all these years, but I share things on LinkedIn too. I'm present in person. So if there is like a networking event, like part of my job actually is to go network with developer. It's a good thing that I love people and I love doing that. But yeah, part of my job is really to network and connect with people. But with those connection, again, I'm here to help developer, but I'm here to listen to developers. So this is what I was doing, and this is actually what I'm doing for the last 10 years. My role did not really change, except the manager or the kind of like director, kind of like vision, developing the framework of how we do developer relation. Everything else is really about the developer, about creating that connection. So when I listen to developer, part of my job is to bring that feedback to the product team, because it may be something new, or it may help us influence or change the roadmap depending on what we hear from developer. And at the same time, maybe not at Microsoft, it became my job in a smaller company, but I really need to kind of like advocate / defend developer internally. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of like really good marketing teams or sales team out there, like where I work at Mindee. They're really doing a great job. They really understand developers. But in some other company, the sales team is going to be really pushy, try to sell all the time. They're going to want to really sell features that does not exist yet, kind of like putting pressure on the product team. So my part of my job was also, it's more the manager side, but it's still kind of developer advocate role to be sure that we don't screw up the relationship with developer. And if I think about marketing, there's a lot of great marketing teams out there, but there's teams that are doing more traditional marketing, if I could say, and they would like to email everyone and every developers. And I'm like, yeah, no, like we don't like that. Like I don't think nobody likes cold email or being subscribed to newsletter that they did not subscribe to. But developer were even more handy, like newsletter. We don't like to be sold things. We like to try. We like to go to your own rhythm. So part of my job, again, I'm deviating for the question. It was not a Microsoft. It happened a little bit later, but I think it's also part of like a developer advocate role. So what was great at Microsoft is that my territory was all Canada, and I had the chance to connect with developer outside of my own city, outside of Montreal. I had the chance to work with open source influencers, people that were building really cool project, and also connect a little more with the Microsoft specific community. Even if it's not my main focus, I was involved with different Microsoft community, which was a new community for me. But at the end of the day, they were developers. So that was a really good experience. I learned a lot about how to do that job on a professional level, and yeah, that was a really great experience.
And you worked as senior technical evangelist at Mozilla Corporation for 1 year, 6 months in
Yeah,
2013.
yeah. So what you probably seen right now, if you're listening since the beginning, is that I changed job a little bit too often for my own good. Mozilla was awesome. That was a really great experience because I'm pragmatic when it comes to technology, but I'm more on the open source type side of things. And being at Mozilla, that was working for the open web, that was developing open source software. Even if Firefox was losing share a little bit, what was interesting is that they hired me and actually two other developer advocates at the same time because they were creating that OS called Firefox OS that you may have heard because you're in India. That was a little more popular in India. That was a little more popular in some places in Europe. That was not really an OS for I would say North America. That was mostly for a little more developed country to offer really two things, like a really affordable device, so the device were really cheap, and offer an alternative to Android. In a sense that, like, yeah, that's a different OS that is not, even if it's open source, it was not controlled by Google, and you were able to create application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which was really awesome for web developer that don't really want to learn Java to build like Android application, or don't want to learn, at that time that was Objective-C, to create iOS application. And we started to see framework that give you the opportunity to build on different platform at the same time, but it was still kind of new. So Firefox OS was really nice. Unfortunately, the project didn't work that much because it was really complicated. Like when you have that OS, you need to be sure that you work with telecom companies. So your phone is sold in different like store of those telecommunication company, and you want to be sure that they are supporting your phone if there is anything. So that was a new territory for Mozilla. They were not used also to do that kind of business, but also a lot of things needed to be done in closed door. And Mozilla was really like an open first company. Like every meetings note that we had, it were available on the web, even if it was like just a team meeting with employees. Everything was open as the main way of thinking. So having to do close contract and things like that, I think it went a little bit on the wrong side of like what Mozilla was trying to achieve. But that was a great experience because also I work with really great people that have a lot of experience. Like he's gonna laugh because I'm praising him right now. But Christian Elman was on my team, and I learned because he was doing that job for a long time. I also made friends there, and the Mozilla community was awesome. Like, not that the Microsoft community was not, but the Mozilla community were even stronger in the sense that they were not working for a for-profit company. They were doing things to advance the web. They were doing things to make the webs available for more people. So the people in the community were next level passionate from other communities I've seen at other companies, and they were just nice people because they were doing this for fun. They were doing this because it was the right thing to do. So that was a really good 2 years and a half. Unfortunately, for different reasons, it didn't end well. So all the team resigned within a month for different reasons. But yeah, and Mozilla is still going in some direction. I think it's not a company or an organization as popular as it used to, but I think that there's still probably opportunity for them to help the web go in the right direction and prevent the web to become a proprietary. I don't know why I struggle with that word, but to have the web that is not that open. No.
I got you. And you worked again as a freelancer in 2015.
Yeah. It was after Mozilla was my fifth job, maybe if I count the freelancing time. And I was like, okay, I love being a developer advocate, but like I'm tired of like changing job or having to change job. Like I just want a place where I'm going to be able to do what I love and stay for a long time. So basically, and another thing also is that when you're a developer advocate, there is some developer advocate role where you code a lot. You're basically a social developer. Like you do a lot of coding, but and you have some aspect of like developer relation. But I would say most developer advocate role, you still need to code because you need to learn the technology, you need to write tutorials, you need to create videos, but you don't code full time. So also after like 3 to 4, maybe 5 years, maybe 4 years of doing a developer advocate role, I was like, am I losing my technical side a little bit? So that was a mix between, yeah, I want more stability, and I want to go back at coding, see if I'm losing it a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. So it went well, and not well in the sense that like I decided to do something different. I was like, okay, I'm still gonna go coding, but I was used to a good paycheck as a developer advocate. So I was like, how can I kind of like replicate that? So I decided to do, how did I call that? Like project rescue. So basically, you're in a company and your project is not going well for different reasons. Like my offering was that I'm gonna come in virtually on site, depending where you're based, and I'm gonna like understand like analyze what's happening and give you recommendation. But most of the time my job was mostly to come in and try to fix things. So I made a lot of money, I did work a lot, which was good for me. I had a lot of free time and I was living well. But I'm a social person, and when I was coming on a team, except the boss that hired me to fix things, I was not making friends because I was there to basically point like, hey, this is not good. This is, oh, that was not what done well. Oh, I can redo this better. Obviously, I was not seeing it like this, but I was seeing like, hey, that external person was coming to judge us and to point fingers at what's wrong, which was probably the thing to do for the business to be successful and move to the next step. But personally, that was hard for me because I think I'm a friendly person. I'm a social person. I like making friends where I go to customers, places, and different like different events and whatever. And during that time, I was not making a lot of friends because of the nature of my role. And I realized that I was, as much as I love coding full time, I was missing the more social aspect of developer relation. So I did that for about 2 years, and I think 2 years, yeah. And after 2 years, I was like, okay, I need to go back in a developer advocate role. So first, I'm happy I didn't lose my technical chops. I'm still a good developer. Like I've never been the best developer, but I was a good developer, and I was like, okay, I didn't lose it, and I'm missing the social thing. So after 2 years, I was like, okay, I wanted the long road, the long time having my business, but now I need to go back in developer relation type of role. So yeah.
And you worked as a senior developer evangelist at Fitbit full time for 11 months in 2017.
Yeah, also a short-term thing. That was awesome. I feel bit in at a certain level. First, I work with is gonna like it if you watch the show, but I work with now a good friend of mine, John Barlow. He is just the nicest person in the world. So nice that it's annoying sometimes, but I just love it. And because we look alike a little bit, like they were like, oh, that's the Fitbit twins, and there was that culture that was really nice within the small team we have. Manager was really great too. So they hired me because they needed someone with a little more experience to do developer relation. Because Fitbit was going in a new direction that had never been before. They were building a SDK for their smart watches. So they had smart watches, or they were releasing smart watches, and they were like, hey, if we want to be successful, it's not just about having Fitbit creating application. We need to give an ecosystem for developers so they can create their own watch application, their own smart watch application. So they were creating a SDK that gave you the opportunity to create application for the smartwatch using HTML, JavaScript, and SVG, not CSS. I still don't remember why the reason was like SVG instead of CSS. But anyway, you were also able to create watch face. You know, when you look at your watch, like what you see, design you see. And that was pretty cool because also Fitbit just acquired, damn, I totally forget the name of the other smartwatch company that was like a crowd source thing that was super popular, but like we kind of irritated of that community that were super passionate about Pebble. So we acquired Pebble. So we kind of like irritated of that community that were super passionate about building for smartwatches. That were a little bit sad because Fitbit took a different direction than Pebble, but they were still, most of them, they were still in and just happy to be able to create or port their Pebble application or watch face to the Fitbit ecosystem. So we were not starting from scratch, but yeah, it was a great experience. The only thing, and what's great is also starting from Mozilla. In the developer relation role, my territory became the world. So as a great perk, I was able to travel all around the world, and that was the same thing with Fitbit. So those were great opportunity for me as a person, but also on the professional side because that gave me the opportunity to have a better personal branding. That gave me the opportunity to make connection, create relation with developers, and make friends all over the world. So those were really good opportunities. But I got a really interesting opportunities right after that I could not say no. Unfortunately, it's not on my resume. You won't see it because it did not happen. So I signed up the contract. That was to start a team as a really big company, and the opportunity was really, really amazing. But I needed to move to the US, and I was not able to get the visa. So they just like said, okay, you don't get the visa, you don't have the visa, you don't get the job, and they let me in my trouble of like I was ready to move to a new country in any way. So I took some time off, and after I was like, okay, what's next? What I'm gonna do next? And I was like, I still love developer relations, so I applied for the role at I think it was NPM after, yeah.
Yeah, you worked again as a senior developer advocate at NPM.
NPM, like if you follow me on Twitter, if you were following me on Twitter, you were following me on Twitter in that time, you've seen that it didn't go well at all. First, I was super excited to work at NPM because it's NPM. I mean, like every JavaScript developer use NPM. Even if you use Yarn as your package manager, Yarn is using the npm server behind you. You just like everything works with npm. But I was like, npm is so huge, I can have such a huge impact to foster that community that they already have. But that was like my manager was she was awesome. My team were awesome. That was a really diverse company, which I really loved. They were based in Oakland. That was a really great opportunity, and I was starting to kind of like uh, go for the low-hanging fruits or the small tasks that we really need to do at the beginning. But at the same time, I was starting to define what would that mean to do developer relation at NPM? Like, what do we need to do? Like, we don't really have to build a community because there is already a huge community of developer, but maybe we need to bring the developer in one place so there is a real sense of community. And like that was really interesting. But they had some like I won't give too much detail. Anyway, I published a lot of things on Twitter about that at that time to let people know that like the company was probably a little bit toxic, actually a lot toxic in the higher up management, which was worrying me a lot. Like first they fired me, and for a reason that when in the legal board in the U.S. they call it the NLRB or NLBR, which is the National Legal Bureau Employer, something like that. So they did it wrong, but even more than my own job, which is not fun losing a job because you lose your paycheck, you lose the money. And I was so excited to work for NPM. I was worried about the NPM future because like so many developer need npm to work, and so many products are based on the fact that you can easily upgrade the dependencies and things like that. So it's why I was really vocal about the really bad experience I had. And I know some people were not happy, but I was quite happy when I saw Microsoft actually GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft, but like GitHub acquiring NPM, because I think they did a little bit of cleanup in their higher up management, and now I think everything is in a better place, and there's more solidity in the company, and there is a better future. Like the future is not endangered by people that are just like toxic. So that was not a good experience in the end, but like the 3 months or 4 months I was there, I just met so many nice people and so many intelligent people. Like I remember one of the two person that were working on the CLIMs itself. I was like, they are so intelligent. Like I'm an okay developer, but I wouldn't be able to do what they're doing, because what they're doing is used by millions of people, and it needs to be solid. Because the other thing with developers that we're really critique and we're really fast of sharing the negative things or the negative experience. So that was nice to work with such a diverse group compared to other company where it's always like just white men like me, and also like having that intelligent and that brilliant people to work with. So I did not regret that. Also, also if I was there only for 3 months, having NPM on your resume, it's still pretty cool. So yeah.
And how was your experience as a senior developer advocate at DigitalOcean?
That was pretty good too. I didn't stay for too long because my focus was not totally exciting to me. So I was basically focusing on startup, which I like, but the way the startup program was working was not really a good fit for me. But my developer relations team was really great. The people I worked with, also brilliant, really passionate people. It's just like how things were structured didn't totally fit for me. Was totally not totally fit for me, but I really had a great time. I had the opportunity to mentor more junior people that are doing very well right now. Had the opportunity again to travel around the world, meet a lot of founder and startup, which is always something exciting for me, because like usually founders they're a little bit younger. And it's great for me becoming a little bit older to connect with a little bit of younger people. But also I really like, even if sometimes the startup ecosystem can be a little bit toxic, at the same time, seeing all those people that have a dream, that have an idea, and that give everything to make that idea successful, to raise money, to be the next Facebook or whatever, what's your dream company. It's quite interesting for me. Like for me, it's kind of like fuel me to see all those people passionate about what they do and what they're building. And it's great for me to learn, like to listen to all those ideas. And part of my job was to brainstorm with them different things, to help them with their architecture of their application. And obviously, because I was working at DigitalOcean, which is a cloud offering, the idea was to help them being successful on DigitalOcean. But what was great also is that, yes, we are a cloud offering. In theory, we compete against the three big giants like Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure. But in practice, we don't, because we were way smaller. We didn't have all the product that they have, but what we're doing it very well, and we were making it affordable. And this is why a lot of like startup and people were using us. So that was kind of like a sweet spot where I don't have to really compete with the giants, because it's impossible for us to really compete with them. But at the same time, I can still steal some customer to them because our offering was different and maybe more suitable for other people. So yeah, I made a lot of good friends there. What was nice for me too is that the office was in New York, so that was a little less longer for me to go to the office, because it's close to Montreal. It's like a 1 hour, 2 hour flight, versus going to San Francisco is like a 5 to 6 hour flight. So that was nice, and yeah, I had a great time. But at the same time was like, okay, maybe the fit is not totally for me. So yeah, again, changed his job, went to where I am right now. I took some time off, and I went to Mindee after where I am for the 6 months. And now I'm really looking for the long haul, like my goal. And I told them in the interview, like, you've seen my resume. It was never my goal to stay only 1 year in the place, but there's a lot of opportunity right there. I'm a big fan of, like, you need to be happy when you go to work on the Monday. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you don't want to have a 3 or 4 days weekend. Like you would like more holidays, more time off. But like if you go like really like sad or too stressed on a Monday to go to work, you may not be in the right job. And I have privilege enough that I have the chance to, like, if it doesn't work, to change to a new job or go to a new job. So yeah, I was in the interview process with Mindee, and I was like, you know what, like I want to stay at a minimum 5 years. But for me to stay at a minimum 5 years, I would like to be in a place where you understand a little bit of developer relations, so I don't have to spend too much time educating internally or fighting to have resources, which is great on Mindee because like the founder, there are 4 founders and they understand at least the high level of developer relation. They understand why it's important. So it's not just like, oh, we should have this because it's a cool new thing. It's like, no, we have a developer product that is targeted for developer, that is made for developer by developers. So we need someone to handle the relationship with developer. And the second thing is that for me to be happy, I need to be able to create and build teams. So now I join has the director of developer relation, basically directing nothing. But the idea was like, hey, I'm going to build a team. So now I hire a technical writer. I'm going to hire some like probably 2 or 3 developer advocate, 2 developer advocate, maybe 1 developer on my team. So I'm going to start to grow. I'm starting to grow the team. I'm starting to create also the foundation, defining again what is developer relation on Mindee, because everything I told you when we're talking about Microsoft, that is kind of like the usual suspect of what a developer advocate do or what developer relation does. But like, okay, we need to adapt this to our audience. We need to adapt this to maybe the geography we're targeting. We need to adapt this to the resources, and we need to define this based on, in my case, my experience and my, if I can say, I don't like that word, but expertise in developer relation, because I've been doing this for 10 years. So it's really like trying to put my vision of what is developer relation and how we can help Mindee being successful while being respectful about what is developer relation and what a good developer relation team should do. So now I'm kind of like creating that. I'm kind of like building that. There is a lot of things to do. Because the company is 3 years old, I think, about 3 years old, and we have a solid product. But on the side of like the developer relation, there is a lot of things to do. Like I'm starting to create the community. So now we have a Slack community. So I'm starting to slowly gather people there and have a sense of belonging to being part of that community. Like we are starting to have a content program where everybody at the businesses will start to write content. So we have great content that educate developer, not just about the Mindee product, but like everything that makes sense for them. So there is a lot of things on the plate. My days are not boring. My days are full, but we have a good work-life balance. And the culture is super important too for me, but also for the business. So we'll see how it goes in 6 months, but I would say so far so good. Like I think it's going well. What is great with Mindee too is that we raised a Series A not too long ago, 14 millions, and I firmly believe that we won't fail. So maybe we won't be the next Facebook. I always say Facebook, even if I don't really like Facebook as a company, but like maybe we won't be that successful. But I know we're going to be successful. So it's a great feeling also to be in a place where you have things to build, people understand what you do, you work with great people, some became friends, like most of them became friends. There's a great culture, but also I work with talented people. And a benefit for me is that now we're starting to hire a little more older/senior people, but the company is really young. And it's great for a whole fart like me to work with young people. I'm not that old, but I'm starting to be old in tech because I work with a lot of like 20 something years old, and like I'm 40, actually turning 40 next week or a week and a half, whatever. So I'm starting to be like old in tech because I've been there for like 20 years. So it's great to have younger mind that are super brilliant, that challenge me on concept that like may have changed or doesn't mean that I think something works like this, that is the only truth. So it's really a great place for me to kind of like continue to being challenged while creating and building things.
So software development is completely different from being a director for developer relations. So uh, what is the difference that you observed?
Between software developer and
And being a director of
the big difference is that I don't code full time anymore. You know, when I was a software developer, I was coding full time. Like that was my job, creating software. Now I don't really create software. Like I can work on small projects. Again, I need to code to either prepare example for my talks, or I need to code to write tutorials or documentation, or I need to, like, part of my job may be to create a demo application that user API. So again, I still need to code, or I need to code because I'm a manual person. I need, like, if I want to learn a new technology, I need to code something. So in all those part of my job, I need to be with the code. I need to create things with the code, but it's a small part of my job right now, and it may be different from other developer advocate uh, in different companies. Like I know other developer advocate who code like 80% of their time, and the last 10 to 20% is speaking at conferences, but on the code that they created. So as I said, they're kind of like developer with a portion of developer advocate, even if they have the developer advocate role. But most developer advocate, they don't really code full time. So there's that part. And between being a developer advocate and like a director developer advocate, which is a fancy title, is part of my job now is it's not just doing individual contributor stuff like everything I told you that I was like that a developer advocate should do. Now there is like the big picture thinking. There is the managing people. There's the hiring process. There is being accountable also, like aligning your team goal, defining your team goal, but aligning your team goal with the goals of the company. And I think like why we choose the director title is that I'm not just a manager. I'm not just like a team lead. I lead the department. If it is the department is only two people, but like having that title mean that I'm also part of other business decision or discussion that may not just impact my team and Deborah. So because I have like 20 years of experience, which doesn't make me better than other people. It's just make me 20 years more experience than someone who start. So I've seen really good things. I've seen bad things. I've done good things. I've done bad things. So the idea, and my team know it right now, I have an opinion about everything. And as you saw, I talk a lot. It's the same thing on Slack. I write a lot on Slack. So I give my opinions on a lot of things, sometimes things that are not even related to my job day to day, but it's just like, hey, maybe we should do it like that, or did we thought about this, or should we create that? And the culture that we were able to do at might be about that. And this is what I would think that it should be that kind of culture with any other type of like director role, is that there is a culture of respect, and there's a culture where like, hey, I share my opinion, but it's my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It's always open for discussion, and if you don't agree, you don't agree. It's fine. So there's that kind of respect where it's fine. Share your opinion, be part of some discussion, and we may take it in consideration or no. But it's always done. In my case, it's always done with the goal that like, hey, I've seen or experienced that, and oh, maybe we can save some mistakes, or maybe we can do something a little bit better for XYZ reason. And my goal is always to like, I want to help the company grow and goes in the right direction. I want to help the other teams or the other people in the team to like be more successful, or go in a better direction with some decision. But again, doesn't mean that I'm right all the time, but that's kind of like that my vision of like being in the fancy like director title. So obviously, since we're small and I have a small team, I do a lot of like day-to-day stuff as a developer advocate. But the more the team's going to grow, I think the less I'm going to do IC stuff, and the more I'm going to be more on the manager side, more like thinking big pictures. And basically, my job will continue to help people being successful, but now that's going to be my team. Like I'm going to help my team be successful. I'm going to remove roadblock from my team. I'm going to empower my team to be able to do their job, which I think is really important. Like you need to have a manager that supports you and that helps you to be successful.
So what is software to the world? In this 20 years of experience, you created software. So what software is doing to the world?
The software that I created,
in general, the
in general.
software.
Oh, what's happening in the? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what? Maybe 20 years ago, and even 20 years ago, I would say software were everywhere, but even more today. Like what's interesting with software is that even if you're not a technical person, you use software in different fashion. Like there is software in your car. Like there is software in your brewing machine or coffee machine. Like software is everywhere. So technology is really rare. So it's really important for people to, I think it's important for people to just understand that. Uh, but it's also why developers are such in a good place right now, because we need developers for everything and anything. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but for me, it's like it's an important piece of who we are right now. Not always in a positive way. There is some technology that lower attention to things, or there are technology that make us what's the word, like dependent on the technology, or technology that put us in a vulnerable position or cause security issues. Thinking about some IoT device, which I'm not against. I have plenty of IoT device, but it means that if a hacker wants, he can open the door at my home because my lock is connected to the internet. So there is pro and cons. I think we depend a lot on technology, but people need to understand the implication of that, the possible limit of that, the possible security issue of that, but also the benefits of having softwares in basically every parts of our life.
So what Mindee is doing?
So Mindee, we're offering an API for data extraction. So think about a super intelligent OCR. Uh, and we have two type of API. So we have what we call the off-the-shelf API, where we have invoice, we have receipt, we have a passport API. We have some other API that are specific to Europe because we have a lot of customer base there. And also because we're a French-based company, like the head office is in Paris. We are opening a US office in the coming days or weeks soon, but it's a French-based company. So what's happening is that you, like as a developer, you will often be in situation when you receive document and information and you need to extract that information, but you may not need all the information in the document. You need to find specific things. So with the what we call the off-the-shelf API, I send an invoice, no matter the type or the template of the invoice, I send this to an API, either using the SDK that we have, either using the API, the REST API directly, or you can even use our web platform to do that if you're not a technical person, but the product is really for developer. And you send your document and you get the exact information you're looking for. But what's really powerful is that those are the easiest case in terms of, not the easiest case, but like, let's say the low-hanging fruit in terms of like company wants to process invoice and receipts and like the usual suspect. But what's really power about our product is that we have something called the API builder, which gives you the opportunity to replicate this with any type of document. Let's say I want to process a birth certificate, and we don't offer off-the-shelf for birth certificate. So instead of having to code all the logics about like how to open the document, how to extract the information, how to OCR that thing, so I get from like visual data to real text that I can do action with that text, and after that having to find like, okay, how can I extract the right data, and not all the data in the document, but the data that I need. So with the API builder, you go online, you create your API, it takes like 5 seconds, just saying like I'm creating the API. After that, you define your data model. So you say like, hey, on the birth certificate, there is the name, that's going to be a text field, and there is the birth date, that's going to be a date field, and you define your data model. And after that, where the magic happens is that we use machine learning, computer vision behind it, where once you define your data model, you train your API. So you send, the minimum is like 20 documents. So I'm going to send 20 birth certificate. I'm going to train the API to understand where is the information on the birth certificate. And after that, I have full-fledged API where I can just send a document, and that's going to return me a JSON with the data model that I defined plus the information that I find in the document. So the idea is that you have to process data. You have to, I would say, like, data is not data until you can use it. So when you have those documents and you need information out of it, instead of having to create all the process, you use the API. We do it for you. We process, we extract that information for you, so you can focus on more interesting things to do. So that's basically what we are offering. Things are going well, seriously. And it's really interesting because for me, machine learning was kind of new. Computer vision, I never heard of that. Like, it's not true. Like, I know a little bit, like, high level what it was, but I never really understood or took the time to understand exactly what it was. And now that is at the core of what we do at Mindee. So yeah, we offer those off the shelf that we train in like hundreds of thousands of documents. So the precision is really good. But also you have the opportunity to easily create an API that do data extraction with your type of documents. So it's really I found this innovative. And I really love the technology behind it. So this is also a place where I was saying that it was working with the younger people, but they're extremely brilliant people because they're doing things that I would not be able to do. So now it's great because I learn new things, and my product is really something that is interesting and useful for mostly every developers.
So if you send me your links, your web links, I'll put in the description of this video. People who finds our video on YouTube can see it and can understand what you're doing and what your company is doing, and can take the service that your company is providing too.
That's awesome. And like, if you go on Mindee and you try it, and if you have any question, comments, suggestions, or you don't know how something works, like ping me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Or even better, we have that Slack community that I was talking before. Join the Slack community. It's the best place to ask questions and talk to other people in the community.
So as a director of developer relations and as a person who is into technology from last 20 years, so as an observer, what do you say about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
Actually, I checked some of your interviews, and I really think it's interesting because one of the things that people need to know about tech is that like 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 people that start in tech, they need to hear about like people that are in tech for a longer time, sharing their experience, sharing the mistake they did, sharing the issue they had, sharing their learning path, to see that, like, yeah, like when I do something or I code something, it may look better than someone who has like less experience, or it may be better, but it's because I made so many mistakes before. But what you see, the problem also today, and I use social media a lot, but there's also the problem that, like, even in dev, like, you share all the good things that you've done. You're like, hey, look at my code, how it's nice, and look, oh, I just got a promotion, this and that. And people usually don't share the mistake or the issue they have. So having those interviews with people to talk about their experience, to talk a little bit about their product, I think it's important that we have those discussions to show people that, yeah, there is a path. There is, like, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's normal. And working in tech is not easy. Even if it's the problems that most of us, we're passionate about tech. So yes, it's a job, but it's also a passion. So sometimes the line is blurry, but still, it's not easy because technology changed so fast, because there is so many technology out there, because it's a, even if there's a lot of jobs out there, it's still a competitive industry. Things change so fast. So it's not always an easy job. So having those YouTube video, I think you're helping people to really, like, see and understand the business, and see that they can make it, and see that they're not alone making those mistakes or going through those process. So yeah, thanks for doing that. I think it's great.
How I did masters in software engineering and I did bachelor's in computer science and engineering. So if I work in a tech company in coming days, how this experience talking with already experienced people like you who are already learned a lot, doing so many projects, interacting with so many people, understanding the reality and the industry. So me absorbing all this information, putting in my mind, and uh, how this is going to be helpful for me if I work in IT.
But two things. First, like, even video aside, the fact that you connected with all those people, uh, like that creates yourself a network. And a network is important. It doesn't get you a job if you're not good at what you're doing, but it helps you to be in contact with the right person, to maybe connect directly with the hiring manager, or put your resume on the top of the pile because like someone working at a company. So first, just a network without even the information is like that's a good thing to do. Developer are usually, and it's a stereotype, but it's still true. Like developer, we're usually a little more shy, a little more introvert. So sometimes we don't network as much, or we don't connect as much with people. But I really think it's important. The second thing is that it really helps your personal branding. Again, outside of the information at all, like you're that person doing the podcast, you're that person doing the interview, you're being out there, so your name circulate on YouTube, and your podcast is going to get always more popular because you do more, you get more visibility, you get new people that going to share your podcast, like under social media, like as an example. And it's not personal, but I did not know you before you contacted me because it's not personal. There's so many video out there, and now I know you. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna check video once in a while. And when you're gonna publish this one, I'm gonna publish it in my social media and probably Mindee, which is I'm managing the account on Mindee, but we're probably gonna publish it also because it's one of our own being on those video. It's me. So that's going to get you more visibility. Your name's going to get out there. So that may be easier yeah, people may even know you when you contact them or you talk to them, but also that show that you are able to, even if it's not a technical or a coding project, that show that you can take initiative, that show that you can bring a project from A to Z. But strictly, if I go back to your question, it's about the information. It's I think that's going to help you in two ways. First, that's going to help you to basically understand, as I was saying before, that like we all did a lot of mistakes. We all had like sometimes shitty job. We all create issues at the company that were not good things to do, but we all learn. So nobody's perfect. I'm not even the best perfect person or developer even after 20 years. I still do mistakes. It's not because I have 20 years I don't do mistakes. So that knowing that, I think that can help to the self-confidence, that can help to have to maybe not have or have a smaller imposter syndrome that many of us have in tech. So there is kind of like that knowing those things, but really knowing them, not just you just not read them somewhere. Like you talk with the people that has the experience. I think it's great. And maybe that's going to prevent you to do some stupid mistakes that we've done because you heard someone share an experience like, oh yeah, maybe yeah, Fred said that like he didn't have backup. And seriously, many people in tech don't have backup because we're like just no, we know computer, it's good. Like backup is for my dad and my mother. And no, like, oh, I heard Fred like losing part of like 1 month of his job, like yeah, maybe I'm going to be sure that I back up frequently. And this is really a simple example, but you may have like more profound discussion with other people, and you may remember at some point that like, oh, that will prevent you to do some mistake, or that will help you to do things better, or even if it's not happening before, maybe you made a mistake or something, that's going to help you again to have maybe a better feeling after, like, oh, I did that. Oh yeah, I remember like Fred said that his friend, that was not me, but like his colleague wipe out half of the server. So yeah, okay, I could have done worse. I could have done like this guy. So maybe that can help your spirit also. So there is a lot of things there. The only advice that I would tell you is that don't try to remember everything and anything. Don't try to learn everything or anything, everything. Sorry, because there's so much to learn out there. That it's impossible to learn everything. It's impossible to know everything. So try to focus on what makes sense for you, what you're passionate about, what makes sense also for the industry. Because like if you're passionate about a programming language, a whole programming language that nobody uses anymore, it's good for your passion, but it's not good for like finding a job. So try to find the right mix in between, and grabs what makes sense from people, but also challenge what those people have done. Like as I said before, it's not because I've been in the tech industry for 20 years that everything I told you today is like the only truth, and that, oh, Fred said that he has experience, so that must be true. No, challenge things that we say, because we may not be right, because it may based on your experience, but it doesn't make sense for your experience or where you're going. So yeah, absorb those things and let go what you think doesn't make sense. Challenge things that like you're not sure, and yeah, I think that's going to help you to set you in a path where you're going to be more successful, maybe more quickly, depending on your definition of being successful.
So I'll put your valuable words in my mind, and I hope your words will help me in doing the quality and the productive and the constructive work.
Hopefully, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, I talked a lot, so grab the things that make sense for you, and when I'm not babbling about things. But yeah, hopefully it was helpful, and hopefully it's going to be helpful for your viewers too. And feel free, like if you're watching the videos and you have question about what I said, or you just have question about tech and you're looking for a job, whatever. I don't always have a lot of time because life, but feel free to ping me on Twitter, and if I can, I'm gonna try to help you in a possible way. Like I was lucky in my career that so many people helped me reach the next level, that I'm in the part of my life where like I want to give back, and this is what I do by doing those interviews, by helping people in different ways. So if I have the bandwidth or I have the knowledge, that would be more than happy to do so.
So you already did. Even if one person from anywhere on this planet listens to our conversation and listens to your experience and listens to a particular thing that you did or that you said, if that helped in improving their skills or their way of thinking towards the growth, you will be the reason, and I will be the reason for the contribution for this technical thing on this planet.
Exactly. Actually, you'll be the main reason, because you're the one approaching us to do the interview, you're the one making those interviews, you're the one publishing them. So good jobs to you. You're helping people.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Of course you can. Yeah.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Put there everywhere you want. I'm a big fan of like sharing knowledge or experience. This is what I do. My job is public. I release video. I speak at conference. So again, as you said, like if we release that video and people listen to it and get one thing out of it, I'm happy. So if people can find that interview useful, why not publishing it? I'm like, please do.
So thank you, Fred, for giving me your valuable time and spending your valuable experience with my audience.
My pleasure. Thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.